Just who Donald Trump's vice presidential pick may be, well, we may be getting that answer pretty soon. Donald Trump yesterday did an interview on Fox News with host Sean Hannity, and a part of the interview, there is a little bit of shed light on Trump's decision for who he's going to pick VP. Some of the names that came up as I'm reading this article from The Hill were Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio, Senator Marco Rubio of Florida, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, and Sean Hannity mentioned Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, and Trump said they were all under consideration. And it's been rumored for the past few weeks now that even though Scott was mentioned, Vance, Rubio, and Burgum are the reported finalists to be Trump's VP. And Trump even said himself in the interview, I haven't made my final decision, but I have some ideas as to where we are going. So not much has changed in terms of the only person who really knows who the VP is right now seems to be Trump. Trump hasn't really tipped his hand too much on who he's going to choose. But a lot of sources are saying that it's either going to be Vance, Rubio, or Burgum, and I am inclined to agree that I think it's most likely going to be those three at this time. I've done past videos about Tim Scott and Doug Burgum and Ben Carson, and up until this point, I kind of thought maybe it could still be one of them. But hearing so much noise that's going to be either Vance, Rubio, or Burgum, I am inclined to agree that I think these are the top three choices right now that Trump is actively considering. Now, that's newsworthy, but I'm not going to lie, not really super newsworthy, because we already kind of knew that these were some people Trump was considering. And even though I didn't have either one of them or any of them as my top pick, aside from Tim Scott, I believe Burgum I had 3, Rubio I had 4, and Vance I had 5. So all of them were in pretty big consideration. The big news that Trump made last night was that Trump said he would likely announce his running mate within the next week or 10 days, adding that he would love to do it during the convention. So what does this mean? Well, obviously, as Trump said, Trump wants it done during the convention because Trump, at his heart, the TV show host, real estate developer, he's an entertainer. He wants to entertain people. He wants to make the RNC convention a big spectacle. If people know that Trump is going to be announcing his vice president during the convention, it's possible there may be more viewers than otherwise would be, even though I'm sure it would probably get a lot of views anyway, seeing as it's one of the major parties' political convention. Having his vice presidential pick be announced would certainly bring in a lot more viewers, and potentially even viewers who are not only Republicans, but independents and Democrats as well, who are interested to see who Trump would pick, and that could bring extra revenue as well. So I could see that's why Trump wants to do that. He did also mention that my people say that's a little complicated and that he may announce the pick probably a little before the convention, but not much. It could even be during the convention. He would love to have it be during the convention. And I'm going to be going over to the website in a few minutes, but the RNC convention will take place next Monday through Thursday in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So let me just pull up the date for you because I want to get this exactly correct. It will be Monday, July 15th, going through Thursday, July 18th in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That is the Republican convention dateline. So that is what a lot of the interview had to say, was that. And it could literally happen any time. Another article that went over this, but this came from the perspective of Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr. And in this article, Trump Jr. mentions that his support of who we're talking about, who he wants to be VP, he's been very vocal. He wants it to be J.D. Vance. Now, just because Trump Jr. wants to be Vance, that doesn't automatically mean that Trump is going to choose Vance. But having your firstborn son, who is shown to be very politically active and interested and similar to his father, I think it is at least something that he wants it to be Vance, and he's been very outspoken that he wants it to be him. And he mentions that he believes Ben Carson is too nice to deal with, quote, the psychopaths that we'd be dealing with. That's a very Trump answer. And also that Burgum is a smart guy, but thinks he'd be a better cabinet position for our energy secretary. And this is something when I first started hearing the Burgum news a few months ago, I kind of thought the same thing as Trump Jr. here, that he's from North Dakota, he doesn't have a ton of name recognition. He'd probably be a very good cabinet position person, but as VP, I'm not really sure what he would add to the ticket too much, aside from a stable, calming presence. And also, he is from North Dakota, which again, electorally does not have much significance. No offense to anyone from North Dakota, but it's not Ohio, it's not Florida, it's not even Michigan where Ben Carson's from. Like, North Dakota is kind of, it doesn't really draw too much attention. But this is just Trump Jr. saying this, but still, I felt it was very important to note. And I want to see, I'm not sure, yes, this is a transcript with Vance. I'll be getting to this in a second. I wanted to go over this article by Forbes first, though, because there's a part of this, I believe it's in this one I wanted to mention. If not, I'll just mention it outright. I want to scroll down to the bottom first, because it mentions, yes, here it is. Trump announced former Vice President Mike Pence as his running mate 3 days before the RNC convention. So let's just say, hypothetically, if Trump were to announce 3 days before the RNC convention again, just, I'm not saying he would, but just in case, it starts on Monday the 15th, 3 days before, 14, 13, 12, that would be Friday the 12th. Friday the 12th would be the day Trump would announce. And why am I bringing this up? Well, it just so happens Trump has two upcoming events. One is going to be, I'm recording this Tuesday night, so Trump's rally will be going on right now. If he were to announce the VP, I'm probably scrapping this entire video and doing a video over Trump announcing his VP. If he does not do that, then this video will come out tomorrow, and you will know Trump has not announced his VP yet. His next rally would be Saturday, July 13th. So that would not be 3 days before, that would then be 2 days before. But nonetheless, could be similar where he's going to announce his VP just before the convention happens. I could certainly see that being a possibility. But Forbes, the list itself, kind of similar to what I said. The leading candidates, J.D. Vance, the Ohio senator, apparently on Fox and Friends he said he'd be disappointed if he was not chosen, but he's been going around doing a lot of media and speaking up President Trump and the Trump campaign and such, as are Marco Rubio, who, even though he is denied discussions with the Trump campaign earlier this month with ABC, he did say, I'll do whatever the campaign asks me to do, which is kind of like fancy political phrasing for, yeah, if you want to offer me the VP spot, I'll definitely do it. And then Burgum has also been one of the top VP choices for Trump for the last few weeks now. He's done a lot of media appearances. He went to the courthouse in New York when Trump was facing trial and such, and he was there to support him and speak to the media and talk up Trump. Then that definitely won Trump over in some way, that I'm sure. And then Tim Scott did something similar in Manhattan, where he's been speaking up with Trump and talking about potentially being a VP. So this is kind of just going over some similar stuff I already went over, but mainly important thing from this article that's new to mention was that for sure the 12th Amendment prohibits a state elector from voting for president and vice president from the same state. And it also mentions, though, at the end, though, that I thought this has never been done before. Technically it has, because Vice President Dick Cheney, days before President George W. Bush nominated as his running mate, was actually living in Texas, but changed his residency to Wyoming. So technically, if Trump were to want to choose Marco Rubio to be his running mate, both from the state of Florida, the article mentions Ron DeSantis as well, but I think that's probably not going to happen. I think it would probably be Rubio for 2024. But if Trump did want to choose Rubio to be his VP, technically he could do it. Although I still think if Trump chooses Rubio to be his VP, I think it's more likely Trump changes his residency to either back to New York or to another state where he owns maybe a building or property, such as New Jersey or Nevada, where he owns buildings or golf courses or something like that. Probably, if I were to bet, if Trump were to change his residency again, instead of Florida, to have Rubio on the ballot if he had to, I would personally guess Nevada, because he's trying to win that state. It's a toss-up state, and it has a Republican governor who's relatively friendly to him, whereas New Jersey and New York do not have that. But that's just a side note. So even though there is a 12th Amendment issue that prohibits a state electors from voting for a president and vice presidential candidate from the same state, technically there is a workaround in that, as President George W. Bush and Dick Cheney showed. So there is a workaround to that. And lastly, there was a transcript from J.D. Vance on June 30th on Face the Nation, and I want to scroll down to the end of the article because I found this last quote very, very interesting. It's an honor to serve the people of Ohio, and frankly, if you ask me, that's where I expect to be in 6 months. That's where I expect to be in a few years. This is interesting because Vance is one of Trump's top contenders for VP, and it's always hard to tell because, of course, he's a senator, he's a politician. Politicians never come outright and usually say what they're thinking or say the truth. I mean, Trump does that, but most politicians want to come out and say, I want to be the VP, because then that would probably look desperate and it wouldn't react well to the media. So no one's going to admit that, like, oh, I want to be VP. They'd say it's an honor to do anything they can to help and blah, blah. But Vance, I would have said this doesn't mean anything, but the last part he says, if you ask me, that's where I expect to be in 6 months. That's where I expect to be in a few years. I don't know. That part doesn't seem like he's making something up. That part kind of seems like genuine. That I feel he could have left it off just by saying, I'll do whatever I can to help the campaign and leave it at that. But the fact that he added that that's where I expect to be in 6 months as a senator, I don't know. That could be a potential look into maybe Burgum is the favorite to be chosen, or maybe it's Burgum and Rubio. I'm not sure. I'm not sure to look into that too much, but it's something that I definitely am very interested to see what that could mean if anything becomes of it. Of course, if Vance does get chosen for VP, this absolutely doesn't matter at all. But if he is Burgum or Rubio, maybe Vance, even though none of them have been told who the VP is, maybe Vance has gotten like an inkling that it won't be him. And again, as I mentioned, just before I go to my final few points, that Trump is holding a rally in Doral, Florida tonight on Tuesday. Then I am recording it, so this will be last night when the video comes out. If Trump announces VP, as I mentioned, I will be going over this. And Trump is holding another rally on Saturday at 5 p.m. I think there's a better shot he announces his VP here on Saturday. I think this is the one I'm watching for. This is the more likely one. If he does not announce his VP here, I think a Truth Social post anytime between like Saturday night and the convention could happen, or Trump just gets his way and waits till the convention. And as I mentioned, again, I'm doing this Tuesday night. The convention in Milwaukee is 4 days, 4 hours, and currently 18 minutes away. So this will not look correct when it's uploaded tomorrow because, again, it's not that. But that will be coming up in a few days, and we'll absolutely be getting a lot of answers about who Trump's VP will be then. So lastly, I just wanted to close with a few things here. One is the poly market odds to be Trump's VP. I've referred to these a little bit before just because I find it interesting, and there's not too much to like take away from it other than this is who people are putting their money where their mouth is, who they think will be Trump's VP. And what this tells me is people still really have no idea. Because Doug Burgum is the favorite, which could be an indicator that people believe that Burgum is the favorite, obviously, but he only has 35%. J.D. Vance is number 2 with 27%. That's only a 7% difference between the number one favorite and the runner-up to be Trump's VP. That is not a massive gap at all. So it really just shows that Trump has done a good job in staying very tight-lipped here. No sources getting out or really anything like that's like, oh, we know for sure who it's going to be. It's really a jump ball at this point who Trump's VP will be. I personally believe it's down to Burgum and Vance. I agree with this. I'm leaning towards Doug Burgum, but if it's Vance, I'm not going to be surprised one bit. But it says something that I think this is still so close and likely will be so close going into the final decision. Rubio comes third at 18%, so definitely behind Burgum and Vance, but still a decent possibility. Number 4 is Ben Carson at 8%, and number 5 is Tim Scott at 6%. And as of I was recording this, Vivek Ramaswamy also jumped up to be tied with Scott at 6%. But I think if it was Vivek or Tim Scott, I feel like it would probably the nod would go to Scott. But that could just be a comment for another day. But that's what I think. So what I take away from this is it's still a jump ball. A slight advantage for Burgum, but definitely still very, very close. And now I also just want to do, as I did with my who will be Trump's VP video, I made some quick graphics this time of what I think a Make America Great Again Trump banner could look like. This is Trump and Doug Burgum, Trump Burgum. And then I also have Trump Vance with Trump and J.D. Vance, obviously. Trump Rubio, Trump Make America Great Again, and Trump Carson. I don't know. My head tells me that I think Trump Burgum is the most likely choice to be the ticket right now for the Republicans for Doug Burgum to be the VP. But which one actually sounds the best? Like Trump Burgum Make America Great Again? I think Trump Vance Make America Great Again honestly like flows off the tongue the best and kind of is like the best brand. Like I don't know. When I was making the graphic for this one, I kind of just think like it just fit. Like, you know, you can imagine like you're driving on the side of the road, you see like a campaign sign, and I could just imagine seeing like a Trump Vance like 4x4 sign, or like 3x8 or 5x8 sign. Like, I can just imagine seeing like a massive sign on the side of the road that says Trump Vance 2024 Make America Great Again. I don't know. It could be something. It could be nothing. I think like all the numbers and logic say it's going to be Doug Burgum as Trump's VP. But I don't know. Trump Vance sounds really good. It flows off the tongue. I kind of want to say I'm going to officially say I think it'll be Trump Vance, which would personally be a surprise to myself because my head is telling me it's Doug Burgum, but I kind of want to think it's JD Vance because I think that's the most interesting outcome here of the possibilities left. And lastly, as I always close a lot of my recent videos, the electoral map, barring some sort of seismic change, we know it'll be Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, the Democratic ticket. Again, of course, things could always change in the next few weeks and months, but I personally think it'll be Biden and Harris. And Trump and his unnamed to be determined vice president. Could it be Trump Vance? Could it be Trump Burgum? Only time will tell, but we'll be getting an answer on this very, very soon. So that is going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like the video and hit subscribe so you always get notified when I post more videos like this in the future. And so you can get more videos like this in the future. If you enjoyed it, you can leave a comment below telling me what future videos you want to see. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.